Hello everyone, bonjour à tous, and welcome to another French GCSE and IGCSE tutorial video. So in this video, we're going to look at different techniques for the topic-based conversation, which is a very important part for everyone actually of the French GCSE and IGCSE speaking exam. So first of all, just to introduce myself, I'm Dhananjay Talwar, and I studied French and Italian for my MA at the University of Cambridge. I graduated back in 2015, and I've been in the field of education ever since that time, mostly as a full-time tutor. Languages are very much my passion. I've learned more than 20 of them to different levels, including at least 9 of them to fluency. So I guess you could say it's something that I'm somewhat passionate about, at least. I like motivating students. I really enjoy helping them to get to their goals and reach the grades that they're capable of. And I've done this with over 500 students so far, helping them to achieve or exceed their target grade in French GCSE or IGCSE as a tutor. I have taught other subjects and various other languages, of course, as well, 8 of them to GCSE and IGCSE level, and some at higher levels too. Okay, so before going into the content, we'll look first at the French GCSE and IGCSE exam boards. So as of July 2025, there are 4 exam boards for GCSE French and 2 for IGCSE French. And I do recommend knowing which exam board you are taking as early as possible, and then trying to tailor your preparation accordingly as well. The good news is that no matter what your exam board is, this video and the content of this video will be very useful for all of you. So whether you're studying AQA, Pearson, Edexcel GCSE, WJEC Educus, CCEA, which are all of the GCSE French exam boards, or Cambridge IGCSE, or Pearson Edexcel IGCSE, the 2 IGCSE French exam boards, every single one of these has some form of topic-based conversation as part of their speaking exam. So yeah, there will be value in this for everyone. Okay, so the topic-based conversation is always, and that's still currently the case, the final part of the French GCSE and IGCSE speaking exam. So there's less variation here in terms of the topic-based conversation across exam boards compared to other parts of the speaking exam. The format for the other parts of the speaking exam can vary, and I'd always recommend checking or looking at the website for your particular exam board to verify how that's going to be. But the topic-based conversation will be largely the same, very similar across different exam boards. It is, of course, a conversation between the examiner and the student, during which the student has to spontaneously answer topic-based questions. So I say it's spontaneous because you can't actually prepare, in the sense that you don't know exactly what questions the examiner will ask you during the topic-based conversation. And all of the questions will relate to specific topic areas. So normally these, within the topic-based conversation, for many exam boards, there will be 2 themes that are covered. That used to be the case for every single exam board, but now with the reforms for AQA and Pearson Edexcel GCSE for the exams starting from 2026, those have changed slightly, and the topic-based conversations for those 2 exam boards would only cover one particular theme. But for every single exam board, the topic-based conversation will be based on a specific theme or themes. Okay, the questions in the topic-based conversation are, of course, unseen. That means it's not possible to sit during your preparation time and prepare for them exactly, because you don't know precisely which questions you're going to be asked in the topic-based conversation. And the examiner will or should ask the student questions covering a range of tenses. So the examiner should ask you as a student questions in the past tense, present tense, and also about the future. And of course, they do this on purpose in order to get the student to use a range of tenses, because again, no matter what your exam board is, there will be marks available specifically for using a range of tenses. So it is very important to do that during the topic-based conversation. The speaking exam for GCSE and IGCSE tends to get harder as you go on. And yeah, whereas for the role play or even a reading aloud task, you can afford to keep it quite simple. Once you get towards the photo card, and particularly the topic-based conversation, you do need to show off your language more. Okay, so on that note, here are my top tips for tackling your topic based conversations. So remember to expand on your answers. It's actually better to expand to the point where it may feel it's too much rather than to say too little. It's better to say more. So I would always try and give at least 2 to 3 sentences per answer. That's not in total at all. That means per answer. And I wouldn't stick with just one phrase or a few words or a mini sentence at all. For each answer, I would try and go beyond that. The content of the answers is also very important, and the grammar. So try and use a range of different tenses and topic specific vocabulary. Some particular topics, say the environment, have more topic specific vocabulary than others. And if you are able to chuck in topic specific words in your answer, that can look very impressive. But usually the focus is particularly on using a range of grammar, different tenses, potentially more show off phrases or clauses like if clauses or if or see clauses, things like the subjunctive, different ways to express your opinion and so on. What many students will do is prepare all topic areas that could come up in advance. Of course, I definitely wouldn't neglect any topic areas. If you're a student, you may be tempted to just bet on certain topic areas coming up, but definitely don't do that because you can't predict exactly what topic areas will come up in your topic-based conversation. So make sure you prepare all of them. It's quite common still for students to be given lists of almost all of the possible questions, all of the most common questions that could come up in the topic-based conversation by their school, and for them to write out, say, model answers for each of those and then memorize those before the speaking test. That can still work well. Many students do this. It of course depends somewhat on your school as well, whether they choose to prepare you in this way. I feel that can, while it obviously reduces the spontaneity and the natural aspect of that topic-based conversation, because you're essentially just trying to remember these answers that you've already memorized and had checked by the teacher as well. That can still be a very useful tactic, and that's why many students do that as well, because then it largely just comes down to memorizing the answers that you've already prepared beforehand. So if you do get the opportunity to do that, it can be useful. Make sure that you answer the question. So make sure that you answer the question that the examiner has asked you, and not say something else that you want to answer instead. If the question is specifically about how you find school, try not to spend too long talking about, say, a really specific aspect like the school meals or your friends, because you've got to keep your answer relevant to the question itself. If the question is asking about your school, your answer should largely be focused on your school itself. And the next key tip is to memorize key phrases. This is something I really recommend. It's something that can be very useful for all students, and it doesn't take too much time either. So key phrases can include, say, phrases which already contain present subjunctive forms or see clauses or more advanced vocabulary or especially grammar. And what many students do is that they'll memorize a bunch of these key phrases before the actual exam, even a day or two before the exam. And then in the exam, they'll be able to reel off these key phrases during the topic-based conversation, potentially even the photo card, and maybe, but definitely to a lesser extent, other parts of the speaking exam. These key phrases can be very, very useful, particularly for speaking and writing for your GCSEs. I have various resources available for these too, some that are freely accessible, including a list of the top key phrases that I've compiled from all of my experience as well. Okay, so the next part is to take you through some examples. So I'm going to go through 5 examples of typical questions that can come up during the topic-based conversation. These particular ones, just because they're examples, cover a wide range of different topic areas, so they don't stick to just one. I've written out model answers for each of these, which I will take you through in a bit of detail. So the first one of these example questions is décris ta maison, describe your house. So you can see the question itself or what the examiner might ask in red. In blue is the model answer, the answer that I would give or provide if I was the candidate. And below that, in brackets in black, is the English translation. So I'll just give you a chance to read over this while pointing out a few features of the answer that I've given. You'll see that for the topic-based conversation, even more so than for other parts of the speaking exam, I've tried to vary the structures and use more complex grammatical structures. For example, si j'avais le choix, je ne la changerais pas du tout. That's a si clause or an if clause. J'aimerais, which is the conditional tense, as well. Je voudrais que ça soit. That's a structure including a present subjunctive form. And then there's another present subjunctive as well. Pour que toute la famille puisse manger ensemble. Puisse is the present subjunctive from pouvoir. So I've tried to vary my grammar above all and tried to throw in some more topic specific vocabulary, say related to the house as well, like the names of specific rooms. And I've also expanded the answer beyond just one or two sentences, which is important. Okay, on to example number 2. So the question for this particular example is qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire pendant ton temps libre? What do you like to do in your free time? Again, the question itself is written in red. My model answer is given below in blue, and then the English translation below that in black. So you can read over all of this. Yeah, you can see that again, I've been careful to change tenses, even though the question itself is quite general in nature. It's asking, what do you usually like to do in your free time? I've tried to use a range of tenses by talking about the past, so what I did last weekend, and the future, so what I'm going to do next weekend. And I've done that on purpose just in order to put in new tenses, to put in different tenses, and to vary my grammar again as much as I can, realistically. So it's always a good idea for the topic-based conversation to try and show off your language, as long as you can do so confidently without making mistakes in the French. Because, of course, if you make mistakes, you wouldn't be able to get the credit. I've used some slightly irregular forms for the future tense, j'irai from the verb aller, nous verrons from the verb voir. These are slightly irregular, so again, they can look a little bit more impressive to examiners. And perhaps slightly more advanced expressions like j'ai hâte de right at the end as well, to be looking forward to something. Okay, our third example here, the question is où es-tu allé en vacances l'année dernière? Avec qui? Qu'est-ce que tu as fait? So where did you go on holiday last year? With who? And what did you do? These are very much typical questions that students often prepare for the topic-based conversation. And these are common questions that can come up depending, of course, on the exact topic that you have to answer your topic-based conversation on. So again, my ideal answer is given below in blue with the English translation below in black. So again, you can see that I've definitely tried to vary my tenses. This particular question is definitely more geared towards using past tenses because it's asking the student what they did in the past last year. So I've followed that and stuck largely with the perfect tense and with past tenses. But I have varied that a little bit as well. I've tried to use not just one past tense, but other past tenses as well. So I have used, along with the perfect tense, I've also used some imperfect tenses, like il faisait presque 40 degrés. Il faisait is the imperfect tense from faire. Or c'était le temps. C'était is imperfect from, être. I've gone into a bit of detail as well, so I've been careful to expand on my answer. Yes, and use some potentially slightly more difficult structures as well. Okay, moving on to the fourth example. So the question for this is qu'est-ce que tu feras pour fêter ton prochain anniversaire? what will you do to celebrate your next birthday? So this particular question, again, my ideal answer is written in blue, and then right at the bottom is the translation of that in English. This particular question is mostly geared towards talking about the future, so using future tenses, because it asks the student what are they going to do for their next birthday. So it would be natural when answering this to use future tenses. And that's what I've tried to do. So, je n'inviterai que 20 personnes. J'inviterai, that's the future tense from the verb inviter. I've used conditional tenses as well, just to vary the range of tenses that are there and not stick to one tense. So, j'aimerais, je voudrais que, these are conditionals, conditional tense forms. I've used the present subjunctive. The subjunctive tends to impress examiners the most. Nous jouions is the present subjunctive from jouer, to play. Nous allions as well as the present subjunctive from aller, to go. Some slightly more potentially difficult structures of vocabulary, perhaps like ainsi que, as well as, or les jeux de société, board games. Yeah, these are the kinds of things that can wow examiners or potentially score more marks. Okay, and our fifth and final example here is the question is qu'est-ce que tu fais pour protéger l'environnement? So, what do you do to protect the environment? The environment tends to be a headache for many students and perhaps the hardest topic area or one of the hardest, which also contains a lot of topic specific vocabulary. So, again, I'll give you a bit of time to read through my ideal answer in blue, and the English translation below is in black. You can see that, yeah, as I said, the environment contains a lot of topic-specific vocabulary. So if you are able to use that topic-specific vocab when talking about the environment, that can come across really well and score marks. So I've used some of that, like éteindre les lumières, to switch off the lights, utiliser les transports en commun, using public transport, even words like recycler, acheter des produits locaux, so to recycle or to buy local products, could be thought of as topic-specific vocabulary. I've used another C clause. Again, these are structures that can appeal to the examiners. So, si je pouvais, j'aimerais faire. That's a C construction, C followed by the imperfect tense and then the conditional tense. I've used the present subjunctive as well. Il est très important que tout le monde fasse le plus possible. Fasse is the present subjunctive from the verb faire. Yeah, so I've tried to go beyond the basics for sure, as it's the topic-based conversation, both in terms of grammar and even in terms here of topic-specific vocabulary. Okay, now there's a brief quiz just to test your knowledge and understanding of topic-based conversations. So, question 1, is it best to stick with one sentence answers only in the topic-based conversation? I'll give you a little bit of time to think about this before showing the answer. Yep, I'll reveal the answer now. So, yeah, I would try to expand your answers to 2 to 3 sentences at least. That's 2 to 3 sentences per answer, if you can. So, for the topic based conversation in particular, it is better to expand your answers if you can. Of course, the accuracy definitely matters too. Yeah, try and expand your answers as long as you're confident that you can do so correctly. Okay, question 2 is true or false. So, true or false, you should show off your language during the topic based conversation. Okay, I'll show you the answer now. Yes, this is true, as long as you can do so correctly, though, of course, because you're not going to be able to get credit for something if, there are mistakes in the French. So, do try and show off your language, use more advanced phrases, some of those key phrases that we talked about, which can be memorized beforehand too. But make sure that you are confident in being able to use them correctly. Because if you make mistakes with them, of course, that would decrease the marks. Okay, question 3, also true or false. So, true or false, you can prepare for the topic based conversation during your preparation time. Okay, I'm going to show you the answer for this. This is false. technically, you can't really prepare for the topic-based conversation in those 10 to 15 minutes of preparation time because you don't know exactly what questions are going to come up in the topic-based conversation or conversations. You don't necessarily even know what topic area it's going to be based on. So it's somewhat more difficult to prepare for in that preparation time. Okay, and question 4, the final one is, will the examiner ask you questions in a range of different tenses? I'm going to show the answer for this too. So the answer is yes. The examiner will ask you questions using the past, present, and future tenses. And they do this on purpose in order to try and prompt you as a student to use a variety of different tenses and as wide a range as you can. And if the examiner notices that you haven't used any of, say, the future tense, for example, or the imperfect and perfect tenses, then they're much more likely to ask questions trying to get you to use those tenses because there will be marks in the mark scheme for the topic based conversation, at least, for using a wide range of different tenses. Many students will also use the tenses of the question themselves to guide them as to what tenses or they should include in their answer, although you don't necessarily have to stick exactly with that. Okay, if you have questions at all, if you'd like to inquire about more personalized help, then don't hesitate to contact me. And you can get in touch by email, through Facebook, or Instagram. And I do post every single day on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn with tips for GCSE and IGCSE, particularly language exams, how to prepare as best as possible. And of course, sharing my love of languages with the world and talking about why it's beneficial to learn so many and how it can be easier than most people think. I do offer many resources, including free resources for French GCSE and IGCSE. I have a Facebook group too for all students and students of GCSE and IGCSE French and their parents. I do one-to-one classes as well as group classes and courses too. So if you'd like access to any of this, don't hesitate to contact me.